This is Final Voice TV. Today, we look at the road to 2023 general elections in Nigeria. We also talk about development issues in Nigeria. So to do this discussion with me today on Final Voice TV is Mr. Mohammed Yamah, a man I have so much respect for. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So this is a show that we like to do to educate people and let people know what is happening or what always goes on in Nigeria's politics. So we are good to go, and we would like to have a brief history of some major parties in Nigeria, say the APC, the PDP, the Labour Party, and others.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Charles. And I also thank you again for having me in this program. So I would like to start by talking about, we have about 91 political parties in Nigeria. So I would like to talk mostly on the major ones, which is the APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party, which is actually pulling a lot of weight over the past couple of weeks. Actually, the APC consists of a couple of parties, such as the AD, which was formed in 1998, which was actually at the time mostly a Yoruba, there's an ethnic tribe in Nigeria called Yoruba race, which is actually like a Yoruba agenda kind of party from 1998. And later, this party, the AC, was later formed with a merger with other parties, which later changed into the ACN. So the ACN consists of parties like the AD, the Justice Party, the ACD, and others in 2006. So then in 2013, the ACN later merged with the CPC to then form the present-day APC. Yeah. The Labour Party is quite formally known as the Party for Social Democracy, was formed actually in 2002. And the PDP has been with us for a long time, since 1998, where they had their first presidential candidate in the person of Olusegun Obasanjo. Yeah, this is just to give a quick summary of some of the parties here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yama. So let's go straight to some questions I would like to ask you with regard to next year's elections. First, we'd like to know what is fading away in the national discourse.
That's a very interesting question. In the national discourse, so far, I wouldn't say anything is fading away. The story has always still remained the same. The national discourse is still on the issue of we want good governance. We want a country that we can call our own, and leaders who can actually offer us this opportunity to have such countries. So this has been what the people have always wanted from the very start. But unfortunately, to date, things have not really changed for the betterment of the ordinary Nigerian. And yeah, so it's still the same. So I wouldn't say anything has changed. It's the same players, the same political players who have been in the political space in Nigeria since the new dispensation, democratic dispensation in Nigeria, the same people. So to be honest, I do not think anything has changed. The wants are still the same and the rulership is still the same, to be honest.
Thanks, Mr. Mohammed. And let's look at the real road, the road to next year's elections. You follow events back home, and what is happening now? I mean, as Nigerians are about to go into elections next year.
It's very, very interesting. A lot has happened in Nigerian politics since independence, yeah, if you remember from the British rule. We've come from the military rulership of Nigeria through the now democratic dispensation we have. Youth these days, to be honest, have one big question in their minds, like, what's next? What do these political classes have to offer us? Yeah. So I'll tell you that one will begin to wonder why, for example, the Sorosoke movement, you know, which encompasses a lot of people who have like the hunger for change, you know, and they've not been able to get what they actually want. So as a result of this, there's a lot of frustration in different parts of the in terms of the youth. There are challenges in terms of jobs, police brutality, and all of that. So the expectation isn't so much, So what we the youth actually need in Nigeria is just to make things work, provide jobs, create an enabling environment for us to create even our own jobs if you cannot provide jobs, i.e., power is key here. So just to give a short answer to that question, I hope I was able to answer that.
Yeah, that is perfect. And let's hit the nail on the head again. What are the sincere expectations of Nigeria of a Nigerian voter in next year's general elections?
Next year general election is quite, there's a lot of tension, I will tell you, back home in terms of people who are expecting different things to happen. And the Labour Party, for example, it was like, I would say, like, let me use the word underdog, that nobody expected to gain this kind of momentum and all of that. So the kind of momentum they've been able to gain is as a lot of frustration from the people of Nigeria. If you look at the other major political parties like the APC and the PDP, these are the same crop of people who have been in power since like ages, and they are still the same people who are also vying for office.
Yeah.
So Obi, which is the presidential candidate for the Labour Party, is seen as someone who is able to provide the most needed change. But if you look at it from different angles, if you ask me, for example, in particular, to look at Obi as a person, look at Atiku as an individual, look at Tinubu as another person. Not forgetting, there's another person called Kwankwaso. Is from Kano State. Is also in the race as well in his own political party. But if we look at the current government, which is actually a northerner, for there to be justice, fairness, and equity, the presidency needs to shift to the south. So this automatically knocks out people like Atiku and Kwankwaso, leaving Tinubu and Obi and all of that. Then, if you look at a person like Peter Obi and Tinubu, in terms of, if you look at them in terms of performance, for example, statewide, I know Lagos State is a very rich state compared to Anambra State. When they were both governors looking at them, both of them, you will agree with me that in terms of the developmental stride in Lagos that took place during the time of Tinubu compared to that of Obi cannot actually be compared. It's way more in Lagos compared to what happened then in Anambra State. But then we look at both of them in terms of who can actually deliver. To be honest, Tinubu is quite old. You could see some videos on the internet everywhere how he is. He's already going on medical leave as well, even before becoming the president, if he becomes the president. So I think in all, to be fair, Obi is actually the most competent in all of them, looking at all of these indices.
Yeah, so let's look at your statement brings out a question. Let's look at the emergence and popularity of Mr. Peter Obi. What has triggered his popularity? Is it that he is so competent to deal with issues of foreign exchange capacity? Foreign exchange capacity of Nigeria is a bit debatable now. Let's look at issues of currency valuation. There is lack of confidence in Nigeria's currency valuation. Look at issues of infrastructure. The last time I checked, there is a backlog of almost 28 million housing units in Nigeria. That the government of Nigeria should be able to provide 28 million housing units for Nigerians. Look at issues of corruption. Does Mr. Peter Obi present himself as somebody who could deal with some of these things? I mean, many of the issues that confront Nigeria as a nation.
All right, thank you. This is a very interesting question. And I will tell you for free that, a lot of the Obi movement, for example, it gained a lot of momentum out of the frustration of Nigerians, and because of this frustration, people are beginning to look at areas where they think they could find some hope. Yeah. And this is why people, when they looked at, okay, this major parties that we have. We have Tinubu there, who has been in government for ages. We have Atiku, the same people who have been in government for ages. Now, there's this, like, although he's not new in politics, but he's not like this top guy in politics that has a lot of voice, national coverage, and all of that. He was like this underdog guy. So people are beginning to like, okay, let us give him a try and all of that. But I can tell you that anyone who thinks that even if Obi becomes president, he will just maybe use magic to fix things in Nigeria, that person must be living in a fool's paradise. The what's happening in Nigeria is a lot, and it requires consistent policies on the side of government. It's not the fact that when one government leaves, a new government comes in, they bring their own policies. Those policies that was taking place in the previous government is not carried over into the new government. So there's a lot of inconsistency. This brings Shopee. There are so many programs that are not even going from one stage to the next. So this is a big problem. So although I've listened to Obi when he talks and all of that, he's making references to other countries, how they're doing it and all of that. But so far, he has not been able to, me personally, I've not seen any video where he's been able to tell us how he's going to do it. Because it is easy to point fingers at others and criticize what other people do, but how differently are you going to do it? This is what I want to hear. And so far, Obi or Tinubu or Atiku, I have not heard them say anything about it. It's easy for me to say, I'm going to provide 100 million jobs. I'm going to give you electricity like the current government has said by 2 years after they come into power, they're going to give 24 hours electricity to Nigerians. But it's not true. It didn't happen. So I would like to hear them tell us how they wish to fix the country and how they wish to create jobs, how they wish to do this and how they wish to do that. But so far, I haven't gotten any. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed. The election, the campaign has just been, the ban has just been lifted. The campaign is taking place. We are looking forward to having presidential debate for them to say what they wish to do and how they wish to do it. So yeah, keeping our fingers crossed on that.
Yeah, thank you for this fair comment. And I have been following social media, and the politics of Nigeria seems to be on social media now. It's like the campaign, the pictures, the policies, everything is being discussed on social media. As issues on social media, same as issues on the ground. I mean, the average Nigerian, the layman in Nigeria, will these people follow what the youth are doing on social media, or can a candidate be tagged as a social media president? How do you see that?
Okay, that is actually people say these things and all of that, but I can tell you what's happening on social media does not directly translate to what's happening on ground. There's a lot of hunger in Nigeria. People need to know where the next meal is coming from. And you see the energy with which the youths, are pushing and all of that, is a different ball game when they are offered things like incentives, money, and all of that, and said, okay, take this amount of money and vote for me. You'll be very surprised that this guy who is saying obedient all through on Facebook, on the day of the election, when he's offered 20,000 or 10,000, depends, then he has a change of mind just because he needs to get this money to feed himself, So, but if you look at Nigeria's space, for example, and all of that, you see that this, what I see is that this coming election is going to take a lot of lines, tribal lines, religious lines. These are two huge lines. If you look at Obi, for example, in the north, he's not really popular. But if you look at Tinubu in the north, he's not so popular, to be honest, compared to Atiku. But in the west, Tinubu is really popular compared to them. So if you see, people are just if you look at the news, for example, when we had the Muslim tickets in the APC, the Christian Association of Nigeria kicked against it. A lot of prominent Nigerians came on board. Ordinary Nigerians, they kicked against it. This is already like indications of what is going to come. So irrespective of what we are seeing on social media today, there are people who are just going to go there and say, I'm going to vote for Tinubu because he's a Yoruba man. I'm going to vote for Obi because he's an Igbo man. And I'm going to vote for Atiku because he's an Hausa man. And a lot. Then coupled with the amount of money that they are going to, because you see, Obi has already launched a website where he's asking Nigerians to donate. Election takes a lot of money. And if you don't have money, you're not in the game. And being Nigeria the way it is, the voters, who are the voters? These people staying in Lekki and Abuja, they don't necessarily go there to vote. The voting mostly takes place in the poor neighborhood, in the villages, in all these rural areas. And when these people take their money to these rural areas and decide to give money to buy votes, what do you think is going to happen? It means the highest bidder is going to win the day.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, this is just it. Yeah.
Yeah, but religious card and tribal cards always play a role in our politics, especially sub-Saharan Africa. But that also brings a question. Mr. Tinubu is said to have appointed a Muslim person as a running mate. So it's like a Northerner or Muslim ticket. Is it going to help that party?
Well, politicians, I believe Tinubu is more experienced than me in politics. These people, they have people who work with them. They are strategists, who look at the do's and don'ts, advantages and disadvantages and all of that. He knew quite well that if he takes maybe a Northerner, he's going to maybe have the sympathy votes from those Northerners because they feel, okay, this is Tima, he's our brother, we will vote for him. Then, since I'm from the South, as a Yoruba man, I will ordinarily, naturally get supporters from people from my region and some few Southerners because I'm from the South. So these are some of the mathematics they play. But if you ask me, I wouldn't really agree to that, because it's like Nigeria as it is, we are already really divided in terms of our religions differences or ethnic differences and all of that. So when you go into offices like this and you decide to say, okay, I want to now make it a Muslim, it's like you are you are damning the other group, like I don't care what you think, So I see it more of like, okay, how am I going to win at all costs, irrespective of how these people would feel, So if I were Tinubu, I know he's made his calculations and all of that, but I think it's still better for him to have gone for a Christian candidate. We have a lot of Christians in Nigeria who are very, very competent, even more competent than the person he has picked and all of that. At least he would have searched for one and accepted one, but he didn't do that. I don't think it's the right choice, though.
The country Nigeria, from my research, is even richer than some countries in Europe. And in sub-Saharan Africa, I could say Nigeria competes with South Africa. And Nigeria might be the richest country in Africa if things are put in place or well managed. Who is to lead the fight of anti-corruption? Who is to lead the fight for or against mismanagement in Nigeria? What are the youth expecting? I mean, what is the expectation of the youth now?
This question is quite...
Is it about always focus on religious lines or tribal lines, or for once, the youth of Nigeria will say, hey, enough is enough. I may be a Northerner, but this man is competent. Or I may be a Southerner, but this man in the North is competent. Because the issues or the politics should be issues-based. We should talk about issues confronting us as a people and not our religion or our tribe or our academic credentials.
Yeah, you are right.
As you're answering this, please, you just add your last submission to it and we end.
Okay, thank you. Charles, thank you so much for this question. Yeah, in terms of corruption, yeah, I tell you that this present government came in on board majorly on two promises, which is fighting corruption, and another one is to end insecurity. But so far, I can tell you they haven't really passed that test. In terms of corruption, yeah, every hand needs to be on deck. Because at the end of the day, you see that when the government even catches some people who are corrupt, and you see people coming out to protest in support of these people. Maybe it's our son, or she's our daughter. They caught her because she's a Christian. All of this also comes in until the Nigerian decide to develop their mindset and see themselves as Nigerian first before any other thing, I do not think we will get it right. Because corruption is everyone's job to fight. The person who is giving bribe to the secretary in the office is aiding corruption. The secretary who is taking the money from the person is also aiding corruption. All of this put together destroys the economy. If you tell me that the president, whoever is going to come in, is going to be able to solve corruption by doing his job, is going to be very difficult for him or her to do, because every hands needs to be on deck. Our mindset needs to change. Our thinking logic needs to change in order for us to create a better country. Yeah. So just to summarize and sum up our discussion this morning, I would tell every Nigerian out there, please look at all the candidates, do your parts, cast your votes, don't stoke up hatred or fear in the polity as it is. So, and for us to fight to have a better Nigeria, we all need to put our hands together to make it better. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having on the show. Final Voice TV viewers really appreciate your coming on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Charles. Have a great day.